Hello, guys, and welcome to my episode on the Celebrity Big Brother finale. And yes, it's a day late. I know, guys, I'm really sorry. I have been on the catch-up game, but we are all caught up now, ready to move on to bigger and better things. This series of Celebrity Big Brother has been interesting. Not what I expected from Celebrity Big Brother, I gotta be 100% honest. It didn't always feel cohesive and it didn't always feel very entertaining, but I have faith that maybe it was just a group of celebrities and maybe in future series they will be able to fine tune how this works. 17 days is not enough time. I think it's ridiculous. It's not even 3 weeks. Yeah, it there was just so many things wrong with this series, and I'm just excited for Big Brother now because they got Big Brother so right on most levels, but with Celebrity Big Brother they kind of dropped the ball a little bit and it wasn't quite the spectacle it should have been. But anyway, we are here to talk about the final. We've got 5 people left over: Fern, Nikita, Coulson, David, and Louis. I almost said Bradley, but he just got evicted. So lots and lots to talk about. So without much further ado, let's get into the wait. Guys, you gotta subscribe. We're on our way to 800. I think we're on 719, 718, something like that. That's not good enough, guys. We gotta be progressing. You guys have been doing bits and bits and bits for ages and ages and ages. And now you just gotta keep going. You gotta keep doing it. You got to keep on going. So yeah, make sure you are subscribing, liking, commenting, doing all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And now we will finally actually get into the video. So before I list off the people and talk about their exit interviews, I just want to talk about the group as a whole. It's an interesting top 5. 1 female, 4 males. Interesting mix. There are 2 people that I didn't expect to make it to the final at all, Nikita and Coulson. I really expected those 2 to go out quite early, or just I didn't expect them to make it to the final. I didn't particularly want them to in the nicest way possible, because I'm always about, I want the most interesting people to stay in the longest, even if they're a bit of a dickhead like Louis was being. I still want him to stay in because he's entertainment and he stops the episodes being all kumbaya boring. Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting mix of people. They had a final dinner. There actually wasn't a lot going on in the first part of this episode, and it's something that really bugs me about sort of the show in general. Towards the end, is it kind of just feels like they give up towards the end. They have like the last day, the last episode of highlights, then they have like a whole day that gets recapped in 15 minutes, and then the day of the final just gets ignored. So I don't know whether there's like an argument to make the final longer. Maybe it should be 2 hours, 2.5 hours, I don't know, but there should definitely be something longer, because it just isn't working currently for me. It was a little bit messy when we watched it on Big Brother last time, and now Celebrity Big Brother really highlighted how just sort of chaotic this final was, and yeah, at times it was a little bit dull to watch. But anyway, interesting things I noticed. Everybody stood up, did their thank yous. David said that Louis likes to play the panto villain, but he knows that he's really sweet inside. And then there was a clip of David pretending to be Cher while singing one of her songs. It was brilliant. It was very entertaining. And then we moved straight on to the evictions. One by one, they were evicted until the final person remained. Gotta say, there were some shock twists. Like I said in the previous episode, my opinion was it would go David at the top, Louis, Fern, Nikita, Coulson. So Coulson would be out first. But that's not quite what happened. And I gotta say, the British public have some interesting voting choices, I have to say. Yeah. So the first person who was evicted and ended up in 5th place was Fern Britton. I don't know whether it's because she survived 3 evictions, but I really didn't expect her to come fifth. And I think part of that is down to the decline in her popularity. She was very, very popular at the start, and then when Ekin-Su left, it's almost as if she just became a lot messier and a lot more controversial. Not in anything that she was sort of saying or doing, but just in the way she was behaving in situations. So, yeah, the whole argument with Nikita probably didn't help and probably won him a lot more fans. But I didn't expect her to be fifth. That was an odd one for me. That did take me by surprise. First of all, they spoke about Nikita in her exit interview. I thought it was fine. She was like, "Oh, we're all good now. We're all good." You could tell that AJ and Will were trying to get something out of her, but Fam was like, "No, we're chill. We're chilled. Stop digging for gold because there's nothing but mud here." Do you know what I mean? Then they moved on to the snake sitch, and she kind of, I don't know whether this is just like how Fern is, but she does snap into, "Oh, I'm on TV mode." Does that make sense? Like when we were seeing her in the house, it's very clear that at times she forgets she's on TV. Whereas like when she was in the interview, it was very much like poised, perfect. "Oh no, no, oh yes, oh yes, oh. And it was just like, this is very interesting to note. And it kind of became very apparent when she was talking about how she was really suffering after the horrendous snake twist. She was like, "Oh, maybe," she said that she was doing the wishes of the house by getting rid of Louis, because obviously everyone had been voting for him for the last like 3 evictions. So I think people were not surprised to hear that, because obviously I think Fern and Louis started to get on a little bit better towards the end. I saw a hilarious tweet online that was like, "Oh, if this season had been a little bit longer, we might have seen Louis and Fern shagging," and I thought that was very, very funny. And then last but not least, she was talking about the face-to-face nominations and how she felt that she could be honest to the people because people were nominating her. So she felt, "You know what, I'm just going to be honest and I'm going to tell it how it is." And tell it how it is, she did. Yeah, it was quite brutal actually. She's always quite brutal with her nominations, I personally think. I think she sometimes can get a little bit personal. But she does it with such sort of like veiled sincerity, which is interesting. But yeah, fifth place was Fern Britain. Can't say I'm too surprised, but like I said, she survived 3 evictions. I would have thought she'd have had more of a support base out there, but clearly the last few days of Nikita hadn't gone down well with the public, and yeah, that's all there is to say. Now, up next we had Louis Walsh coming in 4th. This was the most shocking one of the night. We were sitting there going, "Oh, who do we think is going to be next?" Coulson. Okay, cool. Who do we think is going to be next? Coulson. And it was just getting a bit ridiculous because we thought Coulson would be 5th, we thought Coulson would be 4th, and then Louis Walsh gets announced and we're like, huh? For a similar reason to Fern, he's been up on the block 3 times, no, twice he's been up on the block, and he survived both of those evictions against, I'll be honest, people who I would have thought would have been more popular than him, especially considering his sort of the way he's behaved and the way sort of like people are not massive fans of him. But clearly they got him through to the final. I don't think he deserved 4th place. This feels very much like Yinrun being in 4th, where everyone was sort of like, "Oh, they could really, really win this series." And then they ended up coming in 4th behind 2 people that had a lot of controversy around them. Well, I mean, actually, Coulson and Nikita didn't have any controversy around them. Between 2 people that we didn't expect to make it to top 3, Louis Walsh being 4th was a big surprise. But let's start talking about it. He was very, very surprised to hear that we had heard all of his gossiping sessions with Sharon. I don't think he realised that they would show all of that, but obviously it was the most entertaining parts of the series. He also said he was surprised he got on with Coulson, and actually, I think I was quite surprised he got on with Coulson so well. Them cooking together was a very odd pairing, but it actually worked quite well. Then we had Louis saying he bickered a lot with Zizi and David, and also how he felt like he was often a spectator when other people were bickering, and he said he liked to watch everything and keep notes of everything in his head. And then he said like the weirdest thing, which was like, oh, did you know we were locked up for 3 weeks without our phones? And it seemed like he was deadly serious, and the host was like, yes, we've been watching it all on TV. For a split second there, I thought he'd forgotten. I genuinely thought he'd forgotten that this whole thing had been filmed, which would have been hilarious. But yeah, it is what it is. And then last but not least, he said that he wanted to leave multiple times. And this has kind of caused a little tiny uproar on Twitter, sort of proving Ekin-Su's point of like they don't show everything in the edit, because we had no idea about this. And obviously he's saying this and they're like, oh, yeah, I wanted to leave multiple times. And obviously, like, I think this ties into why Ekin-Su voted for Louis to put him up for nomination, because she knew he wanted to go home. Could be wrong. Could be very wrong. Maybe it wasn't her backstabbing her friend. Maybe it was just oh, you've said you wanted to go home, so I'm going to vote for you. Because notice how we never heard the conversation between those two about why she voted for him. Because when he said like, oh, why did you vote for me? Oh, I don't want to talk about it right now. And then when she came out, she was like, oh yeah, we had that conversation, we sorted it. And we were like, but we never saw that conversation. I think that's why. That's just my conspiracy theory, people. So, yep, fourth place was Louis Walsh. That is all I've got to say on the matter. On to third place, and I got to say, this is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. So, in third place came Coulson Smith, and I got to say, I can't believe he made it to third place. Bless him. Lovely, lovely person, and I do very much enjoy his podcast. But he just weren't that interesting in the house, bless him. I don't know whether it was just we weren't seeing the right parts of him, but like, there were just so many times when I was like, oh, I just don't feel connected to you in the same way that I'm connected to some of the other people in the house. Especially like David, Fern, Louis, where they've actually had like storylines in the house. Whereas I just feel Coulson, he was kind of just there most of the time. They immediately started talking about the boring housemate comment from Levi, and Coulson was like, well, being the most boring gets you to third, apparently. And I thought, actually, yeah, fair game, actually. Yeah, fair point, actually. Because I'm not being funny, but yeah, that is kind of what happened. He said that he was surprised that the Wash Boys was a thing. He said he didn't really feel like that was going to happen to him in the house, and he said he's glad he had that support network. And he also started talking about Louis in the kitchen. I gotta say, again, his exit interview, I didn't really get much from him, much interesting content. So I guess we kind of got to move on to second place, because I literally had nothing to talk about. His exit interview was just kind of a bit short and a bit underwhelming, but it is what it is. Moving on to second place. So, if you haven't already worked out, David Potts won this series, meaning Nikita came in second place. Yeah, don't know how Nikita made second place apart from the fact he's a pretty boy. Yeah, I don't know. I just never, there was never like, there were like a few moments where I was like, oh, that was entertaining. But there was never a moment where he was even in my top 5 favourite housemates. And there was only 12 of them if you discount Sharon. So, yeah, I don't know. Second place is wild to me. But then again, he's always the runner-up, never the winner. Same with Strictly, let's be honest. He's apparently the only person in this series, I say apparently like I didn't already know this, he is the only person in this series that didn't get any nominations but he still faced a public vote, which is crazy. Every single time he was in the diary room for nominations, he nominated Fern, and he was consistent with that. Actually, it was just, I don't think it was a vendetta. I think it was just, who in this house do I not connect with? Fern. Simple as that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then they were talking about the incident with Fern and how he kind of not caused the whole sort of like accident with her, but like how he was definitely somewhat to blame there. And then he also spoke about how he struggled with the no contact part of it. I think I like to think I wouldn't struggle with it, but I feel like I would, and I feel like it would just, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. You only actually know how you're going to deal with it when you're actually in the situation. So I think everyone's like, oh yeah, I can do 3 weeks, I can do 3 weeks, and then they realize how long 3 weeks actually is, especially when you're looking forward to it ending. Do you know what I mean? Because then it just drags, and especially because you've got like nothing to do in the day. It's not like you've got work every single day and that kind of passes the time. You're literally just in a house. You do some activities once or twice a day, and the rest of the time is just chatting and doing like household stuff. That's it. So like I can understand why people would struggle with the no contact rule, but it's time to talk about our winner, David Potts. Well deserved. Well deserved. If you'd have told me night one that David Potts would have won, probably would have said you're lying. But I think very early on, I tipped him as my favourite to win. I obviously, like, going in, I was like, oh, Ekin-Su's my winner. And then realised that she actually had no backing from the public. So I was like, that's not a particularly good idea. But I think he definitely managed to turn opinions around on him. He went into the house and everyone was kind of like, the fuck is he wearing on the way in? And on the way out, we were like, biggest slay outfit, love it, brilliant. I feel like he really did manage to change people's opinions on him. I mean, he went into the house and my mum went, who is this twat? Who is he? What's he doing on here? And I was like, I don't know. And even by the end, she was like, yeah, I want him to win. She was like, I want him to win. He's really entertaining. So you just never know. You can't judge a book by its cover. That's something that Louis actually said he learnt, was that you can't judge a book by a cover. But honestly, great. He said he easily made friendships, and he's never really been one of the lads before, but obviously he struck up a real good sort of friendship with Bradley, Nikita and Coulson, and that sort of like quartet. I don't really know what the trio word for four is, but either way, it was really nice to actually see him sort of appreciate the fact that this doesn't usually happen, and he was really appreciative of it. He said he never really had a low moment in the house. Every single day was just full of highs and good moments, and he said he never actually really struggled in the house, and I feel like that really, really did come across. He will forever be iconic for his thing that he does. Like, me and my friend have started doing it ironically because it is just funny and it is entertaining, and I just think it's so funny. Yeah, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. And then the last thing, he was like, oh, how what have you learned from this series? And he was like, well, I've actually learned to be vulnerable around strangers. And I thought that's a really, really important thing to note, because it actually is crazy how these people are actually just strangers when you go into the house, and in order to get on with them, you need to be vulnerable. You need to open up in order to make true connections and friendships. And I think that's something that's so unique about this show, is that that does happen. So yeah, that is all. That was it. David Potts won. He's joined the winner hall. I can't believe it. Like I said, I really didn't expect him to win from day one. He was not who I thought was going to win. What I should start doing is I should start like writing down a name of someone, putting it in an envelope, and then opening it at the end and being like, this is who I thought was going to win. So maybe I'll do that next for another series that I do. But that is all we've got time for today. Now, let's talk future. Finishing off Australia Traitors this week. Also got to catch up on Maths and Big Brother Canada. Now, if you aren't watching those two shows and you want something to watch, go watch them. Big Brother Canada, competitive, very competitive show. It's like how do I describe this? Imagine if The Chase met The Weakest Link and it was a game show without quiz questions. That is the worst thing I could have possibly said. It is very, very entertaining. I've already posted a video on it. I have got more videos coming, don't you worry. But I just need time to make them, basically. The link is in the description of those videos of a place that you can go and watch it. If you are in the UK, if you're in Canada or America, I think you've got access to it anyway. As for Maths Australia, it's on all four, Channel 4. Don't know about America or Canada, but I'm sure you can find it online. It is very, very entertaining, and I've heard this season is toxic. It is the most toxic one yet. So I'm really excited to dive into all the drama. But other than that, thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so fabulously. And I will see you guys tomorrow for a Traitors episode. Keep on ranting. Bye now.